Stephanie here from Boet Burnings. I will be discussing the tools and supplies needed for wood burning. I use the Walnut Hollow Versatool. I got it on walnuthollow.com for about 30 bucks. It has a temperature gauge which comes in handy for shading. I pretty much always have it on the hottest setting, so I actually taped it to stay in place there. And then it comes with a stand and a variety of tips. I use the universal tip for pretty much everything though. I would suggest playing around with the different tips on a piece of scrap wood. If you don't have a piece of scrap wood, you could just use the back of the wood that you were planning on using. When I'm getting ready to burn, I plug it in and let it warm up for a few minutes, and then I use just a completely random scrap piece of wood and just test to see if it's hot enough yet. If it doesn't leave a nice dark mark, I let it sit a little bit longer. Then once I have a nice dark mark, I know that it's ready. Be very careful, the tool does get extremely hot. Make sure it's not set next to anything that can start on fire. Obviously, make sure you unplug it when you're done. I use pliers to swap out the tips. Be super careful if you're taking a tip off while it's hot. You could very easily bend it or break it off inside. So make sure you're holding it nice and straight up and down as you're twisting it off, and then set it on something that won't get ruined if you set it down. I have like a copper plate here. So just make sure you have a good place to put it when you're removing it. And then I also use the pliers to then put the next one on because, like I said, this is hot. Make sure it's on nice and tight. Sometimes as I'm burning, I realize that I've been putting a lot of pressure on and it's getting a little loose, so then I'll just use the same pliers just to tighten it up as I'm going. You should sand down your piece of wood before you begin. I actually use this to sand it down a little bit, and it happens to be the perfect height for when I'm burning close to an edge. Makes a great wrist support, so you aren't hovering or at a weird angle. Keeps my wrist nice and comfortable. When I make a mistake, I keep an X-Acto knife handy. You can scrape it pretty lightly against there and try to wipe away that's part of the burn. Just be careful, since if you're using basswood like I do, you could gouge it pretty easily since it's so soft. So just be careful. Mistakes are going to happen. So if you have an X-Acto knife handy, you can use it kind of as an eraser. Since I create my designs on the computer and print them off, I also use paper, scissors, tape, and then a graphite stick. I bought these graphite sticks on Amazon. They're pretty cheap and they last forever. It comes in handy with transferring. You can use a pencil, but when I have a big design, it's handy and it cruises through pretty quickly. I have another video coming on the way that I do my transferring as well, so look out for that. Lastly, you need wood. I use basswood since it's nice and soft. You don't have to battle against the grain of the wood. Most of the wood that I get is from walnuthollow.com. It comes in many shapes, sizes, so there's lots of options. Squares, circles, bigger, and then they also have some with bark on the edges, which is nice, different style. I don't have all the sizes, but just check out their website. They have all sorts of options. Nice and big. A couple that I've burned on those are wedding table numbers, and then just some fun little signs for around the house, cabin sign. You can also find a very limited selection of that same walnut hollow wood at the Home Depot or Menards. The rest of the wood that I use is from a lumberyard. So if you could call a local lumberyard near you and see if they have basswood, that's another great option. The nice thing about that is the wood is usually pretty cheap, and then you can pretty much cut it to whatever size you want. As long as you have a saw, it should be set. I actually cut and route wood, which is really handy, so you can still get a nice edge there. Some examples are like that, and then I've also actually used scrap pieces of wood to make other like smaller signs. So if you're just starting out, you can use some scrap pieces. That's another great option and a way to just kind of get the hang of the tools and how the wood works and everything like that. So just another option for you. Finally, find a space that works well for you to actually burn. I burn at an old wooden desk kind of out of the way of things. If you have kids or pets running around, just make sure the cord is somewhere where it can't get caught. You wouldn't want a kid or a pet to run into the cord and have the hot burner go flying. I hope you found this helpful. I'll be posting more videos on how to set up a design, transfer, and actually burn coming soon. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to burn, so just play around with things, see what works best for you, and have fun. Thanks for tuning in.